My son, David, a man I loved more than my own breath, told me to disappear. He didn't shout it. He didn't say it with anger. He said it with the quiet, chilling reasonableness of a man closing a business deal, his eyes focused on a future in which I was an inconvenient variable that needed to be temporarily removed from the equation. So I did as he asked. I disappeared. He only realized the true horror of what he had asked for the morning of his most important day, when he woke to find my face, my ghost, my memory, taped over every single mirror in his perfect, minimalist house. Hi everyone, I'm Grandma Rose. My name is Rose Anderson. I'm 77 years old, and I live in a small condo in sunny San Diego. But this story takes place in my son's house, a magnificent glass and steel box in the hills overlooking the Pacific Ocean. A house that, for a time, was my home, and then briefly, my prison. For most of my life, I was a photographer. Not a famous one, mind you. I ran a small, humble portrait studio in my hometown. I photographed weddings, new babies, high school graduations. I was a chronicler of small, happy moments. My camera was my third eye, my way of seeing the world, of capturing the fleeting beauty of a single, unrepeatable instant. This is the story of how I used the power of a photograph, my photograph, to fight a war, not with weapons, but with memory. This is a story that has, until now, lived only in the quiet spaces between me and my granddaughter. It's a secret pact we made, a silent rebellion we waged together. It's about how a mother, asked to become invisible, found a way to become inescapable. It's about how the people who are supposed to see you most clearly are sometimes the ones who refuse to look at all. Before I develop this story for you, I would be so grateful for your support. Please, like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your attention, your willingness to see me, gives me the courage to step back into the darkroom and bring this painful memory into the light. My life with my son, David, was, for most of its years, a portrait of happiness. His father, my dear husband, Michael, died when David was just a teenager, a sudden, brutal illness that left the two of us adrift in a sea of grief. We clung to each other, our shared loss forging a bond that I believed was unbreakable. He was a good boy, my David. He was smart, driven, and deeply loving. He had his father's ambition, but my softer, more artistic heart. I documented his entire life through my camera lens. I have albums, dozens of them, meticulously curated, that tell the story of his life in a way words never could. David taking his first wobbly steps, his face a perfect circle of surprised delight. David on his first day of school, his backpack almost as big as he was, turning to give me a brave, gap-toothed smile. David at his high school graduation, his face alight with pride and promise. I was the keeper of his history, the archivist of his joy. After college, he went into finance. He had a mind for numbers that I never possessed, and his career took off like a rocket. He met a wonderful woman, Sarah, a kind and steady architect, and they married and had a child of their own, my beautiful granddaughter, Lily. They built a life in San Diego, a life of success and sunshine and breathtaking beauty. After I retired and sold my studio, it seemed only natural that I would move west to be with them. David insisted. "Mom, it's my turn to take care of you," he'd said, his voice thick with genuine affection. "You've given me everything. I want you here with us." And they bought a new house, a stunning piece of modern architecture in the hills of La Jolla. It was a house designed by Sarah, a masterpiece of glass, steel, and clean white lines. It was the kind of house you see in magazines, with an infinity pool that seemed to spill directly into the Pacific Ocean. And they built a beautiful, self-contained suite for me on the ground floor, with its own entrance and a small patio that overlooked a garden of succulents. For the first few years, it was idyllic. I was a part of their lives, but not a burden on them. I had my independence, but I was never lonely. I would have dinner with them twice a week. I would watch Lily after school sometimes, sharing my love of photography with her, teaching her how to see the world through a viewfinder. She had my eye, that one. A true artist's soul. My relationship with David was warm and easy. He was busy, always busy, his phone a permanent extension of his hand, but he always had time for me. He'd stop by my suite in the evenings to share a glass of wine and tell me about his day. He'd ask my advice. He'd hug me, his big, strong arms a familiar comfort. I was his mother. I was a cherished part of his perfect, successful life. The change was so gradual, so insidious, I almost didn't see it happening. It was a slow cooling, a subtle shift in priorities. As David climbed higher up the corporate ladder, the pressure intensified. The man I knew, the boy who loved art and long walks on the beach, was slowly being replaced by a man who spoke in a new language, the language of mergers, of quarterly reports, of shareholder value. His world became smaller, more focused, more ruthless. And in that new, narrow world, things that were not essential to his forward momentum began to feel like excess weight. Our evening chats became less frequent. His hugs became more perfunctory. When I would try to show him a new photo I had taken, he would glance at it for a second and say, "That's nice, Mom," his eyes already back on the glowing screen of his phone. He wasn't unkind. He wasn't cruel. He was just distracted, absent. I was becoming a part of the background of his life, a familiar piece of furniture he no longer truly saw. His wife, Sarah, remained a steady, kind presence, but she was fighting her own battles. She was trying to keep the soul of their family alive against the rising tide of her husband's ambition. And Lily, my sweet Lily, was a teenager now, navigating the turbulent waters of high school, and she saw the change in her father with the clear, unforgiving eyes of youth. She saw him becoming a man she didn't recognize, and it angered her. The breaking point, the moment the quiet, creeping coldness erupted into a full-blown Arctic storm, came on a Tuesday. It was the day David closed the biggest deal of his career, a multi-billion-dollar merger that would make him a senior partner at his firm. It was the culmination of a year of relentless, soul-crushing work. He came home that evening, his face alight with a kind of manic, triumphant energy I hadn't seen in years. He announced that the final piece of the puzzle, the key to sealing his new position, was a dinner at their house. The CEO of the acquiring company, a notoriously old-fashioned, powerful man named Mr. Abernathy, had requested a quiet, intimate dinner with David and his family. "This is it," David said, pacing the minimalist living room, his hands trembling with adrenaline. "This isn't just a dinner. It's an inspection. Abernathy is a family man. He needs to see that I'm stable, that I have a perfect, supportive, traditional family life. Everything has to be perfect. And then he looked at me, and in his eyes I saw for the first time that I was not a part of his perfect picture. I was a flaw. The conversation happened the next day. He came to my suite alone. He sat on the edge of my sofa, his hands clasped between his knees, unable to meet my eyes. "Mom," he began, his voice low and tight. "We need to talk about the dinner on Saturday." "I know, dear," I said, smiling. "I was just thinking about what I should wear." He finally looked at me, and his expression was one of pure, agonizing discomfort. "That's the thing, Mom. Sarah and I think it would be best if you weren't here for the dinner." And the words hung in the air, small and sharp and deadly. I stared at him, my smile frozen on my face, certain I had misheard. What do you mean, David?" "Abernathy is difficult," he stammered, the words rushing out now, a torrent of practiced excuses. "He's old school. He's looking for a protégé, someone who is young, hungry, with a simple, uncomplicated life. A wife, a kid. That's the image. And having an elderly parent living here, it complicates the narrative. It suggests dependency, responsibility. It's a distraction. It's not the clean, perfect image I need to project." I couldn't breathe. It felt as if the air had been sucked out of the room. He was talking about me as if I were a piece of bad PR, a branding problem. "So you want me to What? Stay in my room? I asked, my voice a whisper. He winced. This was the part he had been dreading. No, Mom, not in your room. We need the whole house to be seamless. I mean, what if he asks for a tour? What if he wants to see the garden from your patio? It's too risky. He took a deep, shuddering breath. I've booked you a room. At a lovely place. A respite care hotel, it's called. It's by the ocean. Just for 2 nights. Friday and Saturday. I'll take you there Friday afternoon, and I'll pick you up on Sunday morning. It will be like a little vacation for you. A little vacation. He was exiling me from my own home, from his life, for the most important night of his career, and he was calling it a vacation. The cruelty of it, the sheer, breathtaking selfishness, was a physical blow. David, I said, my voice trembling now, the shock giving way to a deep, wounded pain. This is my home. You are my son, and you are asking me to hide? To pretend I don't exist. For a business deal. Nee. He stood up, his face hardening, the discomfort turning into defensive anger. You don't understand what's at stake here, Mom. This is everything I've worked for, my entire life. It's 2 nights. Just 2 nights. Why do you have to be so difficult? Difficult? I asked, the word a gasp. I'm not being difficult, David. I am being your mother. Well, right now, I can't afford for you to be my mother. He snapped, the words finally out, raw and ugly and true. I need you to be invisible. I need you to just disappear for 48 hours. Can you do that for me? After everything I've done for you, can you just do this one thing for me and disappear? No. Disappear. The word echoed in the silent room. It was a command, a dismissal, a negation of my entire existence. He looked at me, his eyes pleading, not for my understanding, but for my compliance. He didn't see a person he was wounding. He saw an obstacle he needed removed. I looked at my son, at the man he had become, and I felt my heart, my foolish, loving mother's heart, break into 1,000 irreparable pieces. The bond I thought was unbreakable had just been severed with a single, brutal word. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. A strange, cold calm washed over me. The kind of calm that comes after the storm has passed, and all that is left is the wreckage. All right, David, I said, my voice a dead, flat thing. If that is what you need, I will disappear. He let out a long, shuddering breath of pure relief. He hadn't won an argument. He had won a surrender. He came over and tried to hug me, but I held up a hand. Please don't, I said. He flinched as if I had struck him. He looked at me, truly looked at me for the first time in that conversation, and he saw not his difficult mother, but a stranger. A cold, quiet, wounded stranger. A flicker of fear, of dawning regret, crossed his face. But it was too late. The deal had been made. He left my suite, closing the door softly behind him. I sat there for a long time, staring at the closed door. I was 77 years old. I had raised a son, buried a husband, run a business. I had lived a full and vibrant life. And it had all come down to this: being told to disappear. Fine, I thought. A new resolve, as cold and as hard as granite, began to form in the ruins of my heart. You want me to disappear, David? I will. But I will leave something of myself behind. I will leave you a house full of ghosts. I will make you see the mother you tried to erase. I will make you look at me until your eyes burn. I picked up the phone and called my granddaughter, Lily. When she answered, my voice was no longer weak. It was the voice of a woman with a plan. Lily, my love, I said, I need your help. Your father has asked me to disappear, and I think we should give him exactly what he wants. The silence on the other end of the line was short. Then I heard her voice, low and angry and filled with the fierce, protective love of a girl who had not yet learned to compromise her heart. "What do you need me to do, Grandma?" she asked. And I told her. The place David took me to was called Sea Breeze, Respite and Retreat. The name, like so many things in my son's new world, was a beautiful lie. It was not a retreat. It was a holding pen. It was a low, gray, stucco building, smelling faintly of mildew and air freshener, situated on a barren stretch of coast highway, where the only view was of passing cars and a distant, indifferent sliver of ocean. The respite was for the families, not for the residents. It was a place where inconvenient elderly relatives could be temporarily warehoused, out of sight and out of mind. David was tense and silent during the drive, the muscles in his jaw tight. He carried my small overnight bag into the lobby, a sad beige room with plastic ferns and faded seascape paintings. He checked me in with a brisk, impersonal efficiency, signing the forms without looking at the bored-looking woman behind the counter. He was treating it like a transaction, a necessary but unpleasant piece of business. When he walked me to my room, he couldn't bring himself to step inside. He stood in the doorway, a tall, handsome stranger in an expensive suit, looking utterly out of place. The room was small and grim, with a narrow bed, a bolted-down television, and a window that looked out onto the parking lot. "Well," he said, his voice strained. "Here you are. I'll be back to get you on Sunday morning, around 10. I just looked at him. I didn't say a word. My silence was a wall he couldn't breach. I wanted him to see the hurt in my eyes, to register the depth of the wound he had inflicted. But he wouldn't look. He couldn't. "Mom, please," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Don't look at me like that. It's just for 2 days." I remained silent. I had already disappeared. I was just a ghost he was talking to. He finally gave up. He turned and walked away, his footsteps quick and loud on the linoleum floor, the sound of a man fleeing the scene of a crime. I watched him go, and I felt nothing but a vast, empty coldness. The son I had raised, the boy whose life I had documented with such love, was gone. And I knew, with a certainty that settled in my bones, that I would never get him back. Not the real him. I closed the door to my room and sat on the edge of the hard, narrow bed. The humiliation was a physical thing, a sour taste in my mouth, a heavy weight on my chest. I was a prisoner, exiled by my own child for the sake of a business dinner. I looked around the grim, impersonal room. This was where he thought I belonged. This was my value to him now. A problem to be managed, a body to be stored. I sat there for a long time, letting the full weight of it wash over me. I let myself feel the pain, the rage, the profound, bottomless grief. I let it burn through me, not as a destructive fire, but as a forge. And in that forge, my heartbreak was hammered into something else. Something hard, something sharp, something purposeful. He wanted me to disappear. Fine, Darita. But I would not go quietly. I would not fade away. I would leave a mark. I would remind him, in a way he could never ever forget, of the mother he had tried to erase. My secret weapon, my co-conspirator, my spy behind enemy lines, was my granddaughter, Lily. Lily was 16, a fierce, intelligent, and deeply feeling girl who was trapped in the same cold, minimalist house that I was. She had her mother's steady heart and my artistic soul, and she was watching her father's transformation with a growing sense of anger and disillusionment. She saw his ambition curdling his kindness. She saw the way he had begun to treat me, his own mother, as a background character in his life. And it infuriated her. Our bond, forged over years of shared secrets and photography lessons, was now a silent, two-person resistance movement. That evening, after I had settled into my beige prison, my phone buzzed. It was a video call from Lily. I answered, and her face filled the screen, her expression a mixture of worry and white-hot fury. She was whispering, hiding in her bedroom closet, the clothes around her muffling her voice. "Grandma, are you okay? I can't believe he actually did it. I can't believe he just dropped you there." "I'm all right, my love," I said, and my voice was surprisingly steady. "I am more than all right. I am focused." "I'm so sorry, Grandma," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. I tried to talk to him. I told him he was being a monster. He just told me I was being dramatic and that I didn't understand the adult world. The adult world is no excuse for cruelty, Lily, I said. Never forget that. I took a deep breath. Now, are you ready? Do you still want to help me? Yes, she said without a moment's hesitation. The tears were gone, replaced by a steely glint in her eyes. What do we do? And so, our war council began. A 77-year-old grandmother and a 16-year-old girl, plotting a revolution via a shaky video call, one in a grim respite hotel and the other in a designer closet. He wants me to disappear, I said. So, we will make me inescapable. He wants to present a perfect, clean, uncomplicated image. We will complicate it. We will fill his perfect, empty house with memory. We will fill it with me. The plan was simple in its concept, but audacious in its execution. We were going to turn David's house into a gallery of his own forgotten history. My history. We were going to cover every reflective surface in the house with photographs of me. The mirrors, Lily breathed, a slow, wicked smile spreading across her face. Oh, Grandma, that is brilliant. He can't escape his own reflection. Exactly, I said. He looks in the mirror every morning to see the successful man he has become. We will make him see the son he used to be, and the mother he has abandoned. The planning phase took on the meticulous detail of a military campaign. We had less than 48 hours. Our first task was to select the ammunition, the photographs. For my entire life, I had been an archivist. My medium was not words, but light and silver. I had thousands of negatives, slides and prints. But in the last decade, I had undertaken a massive project. I had digitized my entire life's work. Every important photograph, every cherished memory, was scanned and stored on a secure, cloud-based server. It was my secret, digital attic, a place Isabella hadn't been able to banish. I had the password memorized. It was my husband's birthday. I'm going to send you a link to a shared album, I told Lily. I'm going to fill it with the photos I want you to use. Your job will be to download them and print them, as many as you can. For the next hour, I sat on my hard bed, my phone in my hand, and I curated my revenge. I became an artist again, but my gallery was to be a house, and my theme was to be a haunting. I chose the photographs with the precision of a surgeon, each one selected for a specific emotional impact. First, the idyllic childhood. I chose a photo of a 3-year-old David, sitting on my lap in our old backyard, his face smeared with chocolate ice cream, both of us laughing with pure, uncomplicated joy. I chose another of him at age 10, proudly holding up a string of fish he had caught with his father, my late husband, Michael. In the photo, Michael's hand is on David's shoulder, a look of immense pride on his face. This one was for the master bathroom mirror, where David stood every morning to shave. I wanted him to see his father's pride and feel the sting of his own current actions. Next, the portraits of a younger me. I chose a photo from my 20s, a black and white self-portrait, my face full of hope and dreams, long before I was a mother, long before I was a burden. I chose another from my 40s, a confident, capable woman at my desk in the studio, the master of my own small universe. These were to remind him that I had a life, a history, an identity completely separate from him. I was not just his mother, I was Rose. Then came the harder ones, the ones that would be daggers to the heart. I chose a photo taken just a few years ago, of me and Lily, sitting on the grass, her head in my lap, both of us laughing as I showed her how to use my old film camera. A portrait of a bond he was trying to sever. I chose a photo of me and his father, Michael, on our last anniversary together, our faces older, lined with love and shared history, his arm wrapped tightly around me. This one was for the large, ornate mirror in the entryway, the first thing he would see when he walked in the door. Finally, I chose the most recent photos, the ones I had taken of myself in my suite at his house. There was one in particular, a self-portrait I had taken a few weeks ago. I was sitting in the chair by the window, the light flat, and gray. I hadn't smiled. My face was a roadmap of my loneliness, my eyes filled with a deep, quiet sorrow. It was a picture of the woman he had made me. This one, I decided, would be for his side of the bathroom mirror, the one he looked into to straighten his tie before a big meeting. I wanted him to look at the successful man in the mirror and see the face of his own collateral damage staring back at him. I uploaded 24 carefully selected images to the shared album. Each one was a memory. Each one was a ghost. "Okay, Lily," I said, my voice low. "The album is ready. Now for the hard part, printing." "I have money," she said immediately. "I've been saving my allowance. I can go to the copy shop at the mall." "No," I said. "That's too risky. Your mother might see the charge on a credit card or ask for a receipt. We need to be smarter." "Does your school library have a good color printer?" "Yes," she said. "It's 10 cents a page. No one ever checks what you're printing." "Perfect," I said. "Use that. Print as many as you can, in different sizes. Small ones for small mirrors. Big ones for the large ones. And print duplicates. Lots of them. We want to overwhelm him with memory." "What about my parents?" she asked. "They'll be home tomorrow, getting ready for the dinner." "How will I do it?" "We need a plan of attack," I said, my old office manager's mind kicking into high gear. "We need logistics. We need a timeline." For the next hour, we became urban warfare strategists. Lily, whispering in her closet, became my eyes and ears. She described the layout of the house, the location of every mirror, every reflective surface, the full-length mirror in the hallway, the mirrored closet doors in her parents' bedroom, the polished black screen of the giant television in the living room, the chrome refrigerator in the kitchen, even the small, decorative mirrors in the guest bathroom. No surface was to be spared. "The dinner is on Saturday night," I said. "The CEO, Mr. Abernathy, is arriving at 7. You will need to act on Saturday during the day. Your mother will be frantic, directing the caterers, getting her hair done. Your father will be a nervous wreck, rehearsing his talking points. They will be distracted. That is your window." "They'll still be in the house," she pointed out. "That's why you have to be a ghost," I replied. "You will do it room by room. Start with the guest bathroom. No one ever goes in there. Then the upstairs hallway, your own room first to practice. Then the master stroke, their bedroom. You must wait until they are both downstairs, consumed with the party preparations. That will be your most dangerous and most important mission. That will be your most dangerous and most important mission." We talked about materials. "Just regular tape," I instructed. "Scotch tape. Nothing too strong. We don't want to damage the surfaces. The point is not vandalism. The point is the message." Lily was a brilliant student. She was taking notes, her mind sharp and focused. "What about me, Grandma?" she asked. "What's my alibi? If they find the pictures, they'll know it was me." "No. That, my love, is the most important part of the plan," I said. "You are not just my accomplice. You are the final act of the play. When your father discovers what you have done, you will not lie. You will not hide. You will look him straight in the eye, and you will tell him the truth." "What truth?" she whispered. "You will tell him. I couldn't stand to see the house without Grandma in it, so I put her back. You will tell him. You asked her to disappear. I made sure she couldn't. You will make him face what he has done, not just to me, but to you, his own daughter, who he has forced into this act of rebellion because of his own cowardice." Any. There was a long silence on the phone. I could hear Lily's soft breathing. I had just placed an enormous burden on her young shoulders. I was asking her not just to be a saboteur, but to be a witness, a judge. "Okay, Grandma," she finally said, her voice clear and strong, all trace of girlishness gone. "I can do that." The rest of Friday and most of Saturday passed in a blur of anxious waiting. I was a general, miles from the battlefield, waiting for reports from the front line. Lily sent me short, coded text messages. Library mission successful. Ammunition acquired. Target practice in my room complete. It looks beautiful. Kian. Parents are distracted. Caterers are here. The house is in chaos. Moving on to phase 1. Inranatan. I sat in my grim little room, my hands clenched, my heart pounding with a mixture of terror and a fierce, terrible pride. I imagined her, my brave granddaughter, moving silently through that big, cold house, a ghost armed with a roll of tape and a stack of memories. I imagined her taping a photo of a laughing baby David to the refrigerator door. I imagined her placing a picture of a young, hopeful me on the mirror, where her mother, Sarah, would do her makeup. I imagined her, heart pounding, slipping into the master bedroom while her parents were downstairs, and transforming it into a shrine of my existence. On Saturday evening, around 6 o'clock, an hour before the dinner party was due to start, my phone buzzed one last time. It was a text from Lily. "The nest is full of ghosts. I love you." I closed my eyes and sent a silent message back to her, to my son, to the house itself. The show is about to begin. Saturday arrived, gray and overcast, a mirror to the mood in my own heart. I spent the day in my beige room at the Seabreeze Respite and Retreat, a ghost in premature limbo. I didn't turn on the television. I didn't open my book. I simply sat in the hard plastic chair, my hands folded in my lap, and I waited. I was a General miles from the front line, my army a 16-year-old girl, our weapons paper and tape. My entire life had been about capturing moments, and now my entire being was focused on one single, impending moment of cataclysmic revelation. Back in the glass house on the hill, the atmosphere was one of controlled chaos. As Lily later described it to me, her mother, Sarah, was a whirlwind of nervous energy, directing the caterers who had arrived with military precision. The house was being filled with the scent of expensive flowers and roasting duck. Sarah was trying to create a bubble of perfect, effortless domesticity, a stage set for the evening's performance. David, my son, was a phantom in his own home. He paced his study, rehearsing his talking points, straightening his tie, checking his reflection in the dark screen of his computer. He was a man preparing for the battle of his life, utterly oblivious to the silent coup d'etat that was already underway within his own walls. Lily began her mission after lunch. Her parents, consumed by their respective preparations, barely noticed her. She was just a moody teenager, disappearing into her room with her headphones on, or so they thought. In reality, she was a saboteur, her school backpack filled not with books, but with hundreds of printed photographs and rolls of Scotch tape. She followed our plan to the letter. She started with the downstairs guest bathroom, the one least likely to be used before the party. With trembling hands, she taped the first photo, a picture of me from the 1970s, young and vibrant, in a brightly colored dress, laughing on a beach, over the small, elegant mirror. The contrast between my joyful, youthful image and the cold, modern bathroom was stark and jarring. One down. She moved like a shadow through the house. The large, sunburst mirror in the upstairs hallway was next. For that, she chose a photo of me holding a 5-year-old David on my hip, both of us grinning into the camera. She used multiple copies, creating a collage of our shared past, a sunburst of lost happiness. The most dangerous phase was the master bedroom. She waited until she heard her mother leave to have her hair and makeup professionally done, and her father lock himself in his study for a final, frantic hour of preparation. The coast was clear. She slipped into the silent, cavernous room. It smelled of Sarah's expensive perfume and David's ambition. Lily worked quickly, her heart hammering. On the mirrored doors of her mother's closet, she taped a series of photos of me and her, grandma and granddaughter, a visual testament to the bond David was trying to sever. Then, the final, most crucial targets. The master bathroom. On Sarah's side, above her neat rows of lotions and potions, Lily taped a picture of me in my prime, the confident owner of my own business, a woman who had built her own life. And on David's side, right where he would lean in to check his shave, she placed the 2 photos I had chosen with such care. First, the picture of him and his father, the fishing trip, the look of paternal pride. And then, directly over it, she taped the recent, heartbreaking self-portrait I had taken. The picture of the sad, lonely, invisible woman I had become in this very house. A before and after. A testament to what he had lost and what he had created. Her work was done. By 4 o'clock, every mirror, every polished chrome fixture, every pane of glass large enough to hold a reflection was covered. The house was no longer a gallery of modern art. It was the Rose Anderson retrospective. A museum of memory. A house of ghosts. Lily retreated to her room, her heart pounding, and sent me the final text. The nest is full of ghosts. I love you. All there was to do now was wait for the haunting to be discovered. David's discovery did not happen all at once. It happened in stages, a slow, dawning horror. He was the first to find a ghost. At 6 o'clock, an hour before Abernathy was due to arrive, he went into the master bathroom to shower and change. He walked over to the sink and stopped dead. He saw not his own reflection, but the face of his father, beaming with pride, a hand on a small boy's shoulder. His own shoulder. He stared, his mind struggling to process the image. He reached out and touched the photograph, his fingers tracing the outline of his father's face. Then he peeled it from the mirror and saw my face beneath it. Not the young, happy mother from the photo with his dad, but the recent photo, the sad photo. The eyes of the woman he had sent away stared back at him, filled with a quiet, bottomless disappointment. He let out a sharp, involuntary gasp and stumbled back. He looked around the bathroom. My face was on the shower door. My face was on the chrome faucet. My face was on the small magnifying mirror his wife used. It was a silent, suffocating chorus of me. He burst out of the bathroom, his heart hammering. "Sarah! Lily!" he yelled, his voice tight with a rising panic. He saw the photos on his wife's closet doors. He saw the collage on the hallway mirror. He ran down the stairs, and there I was, in the entryway, a ghost to greet him. He stormed through the house, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Every room was a fresh wave of horror. The living room, the kitchen, the guest bathroom. Me, me, me. Happy me, young me, sad me. The mother he cherished, the mother he had erased, the mother he had created. His entire life, his entire history, plastered over the sterile, perfect surfaces of his new life. It was a complete invasion, a rebellion of memory. He knew, instantly, who had done it. He found Lily in her room, sitting on her bed, reading a book, the picture of calm. He burst in, his face a mask of fury, holding a crumpled photo of me in his hand. "What is this?" he demanded, his voice a low, trembling growl. "What have you done?" Lily slowly placed a bookmark in her book and looked up at him, her expression cool and unafraid. "Hello, Dad," she said. "Don't you hello, Dad, me," he roared. "Take them down, all of them, now. Abernathy will be here in less than an hour." "No," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "What did you just say to me?" he asked, taking a menacing step towards her. "I said no," she repeated, standing up to face him. She was shorter than him, but in that moment, she seemed to have all the power. "You told Grandma to disappear. I couldn't stand the house being so empty of her. So I put her back." He stared at her, speechless. He was trapped. To punish her, to even explain why he was so angry, he would have to admit what he had done. He would have to confess to his own daughter that he had banished her grandmother out of cowardice and ambition. "You don't understand what you've done," he finally whispered, his rage collapsing into a desperate panic. "You have ruined everything." "No, Dad," Lily said, her voice filled with the terrible clarity of teenage judgment. "You did." Just then, Sarah came home, her hair and makeup perfect, a vision of corporate wife elegance. She walked in, took one look at the photo-covered mirror in the entryway, and her hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with horror. The hour before Mr. Abernathy's arrival was a scene of frantic, silent warfare. David and Sarah scrambled through the house, tearing down my face from their walls. But there were too many. And the tape, as I had planned, left small, sticky, ghost-like residues on the glass. They scrubbed and scraped, their elegant party clothes becoming streaked with cleaning fluid, their faces flushed with exertion and panic. The perfect facade was literally being smudged away. They didn't get them all. Mr. Abernathy arrived at 7 o'clock, sharp, dot. He was an imposing man in his late 60s, with a mane of white hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. David and Sarah greeted him at the door, their smiles stretched tight over their panic, their hands smelling faintly of glass cleaner. They ushered him into the living room. They had managed to clear the main, most obvious surfaces. The house looked, at first glance, normal. They offered him a drink. They made small talk. David was sweating through his expensive silk shirt. The evening teetered on a knife's edge of forced normalcy. And then, Abernathy excused himself to use the guest bathroom. The one downstairs. The one they had missed. He was gone for a few minutes. When he returned, his expression was unreadable, but there was a new, thoughtful curiosity in his eyes. He sat down and looked at David. "That's a lovely photograph of your mother in the bathroom, David," he said, his voice casual. "A real firecracker in her youth, wasn't she? She reminds me of my own mother." David froze, a deer in the headlights. "Oh," he stammered. "Yes, my mother, Rose, thank you." Before he could change the subject, Lily, my brave, brilliant soldier, made her move. She had been sitting quietly on the sofa, a silent observer. Now, she stood up. In her hands, she was holding one of my old photo albums, a large, leather-bound book with the word Memories embossed in gold on the cover. "Mr. Abernathy," she said, her voice clear and sweet. "Since you like photos of my grandma, would you like to see some more? She's a wonderful photographer. She taught me everything I know." David shot her a look of pure, murderous fury. But what could he do? In front of his boss, the family man, how could he possibly refuse such a sweet, innocent request? Lily sat down on the floor at Abernathy's feet, opened the album, and began to turn the pages. And so began the final, most devastating phase of my revenge. The conversation for the rest of the evening was not about murders or corporate strategy. It was about me. Lily, with a poise and storytelling skill that amazed me, walked Mr. Abernathy through the life of her grandmother. "This is Grandma Rose on her wedding day," she'd say, pointing to a black and white photo of me and Michael. "Grandpa built this house for her. And this one," she'd continue, turning the page, "is when my dad was born. Grandma said it was the happiest day of her life." She showed him pictures of me at my studio, a confident business owner. She showed him pictures of our family vacations. She showed him pictures of me teaching her how to use a camera. With every page she turned, she was rebuilding me, resurrecting me, in the very room from which my son had tried to banish me. David sat there, a silent, smiling, screaming prisoner. He had to nod and agree and smile fondly as his daughter painted a portrait of a vibrant, beloved matriarch who was, for some inexplicable reason, not present at this important family dinner. Abernathy was charmed. He was also a shrewd man. He saw the beautiful photo album. He saw the loving granddaughter. He saw the tense, sweating son and the shell-shocked daughter-in-law. And he saw the missing piece of the puzzle. He didn't know the whole story, but he could sense that something was deeply wrong in this perfect family. The image David had tried to project was in ruins, replaced by a much more complex, and much more troubling, reality. The dinner was a professional catastrophe. Abernathy left early, his handshake polite but cool, his eyes thoughtful and distant. The deal was not mentioned again. The moment the front door closed behind him, the fragile truce in the house shattered. I was not there to witness the explosion, but Lily told me about it later. The screaming, the accusations, the tears. The final, ugly implosion of a family built on a foundation of lies. David called me the next morning. It was Sunday. The day he was supposed to come and pick me up from my exile. His voice was a dead, hollow thing. "You can stay there for another few days, Mom," he said. "They have an opening. I'll pay for it." What about the dinner, David? I asked, my voice neutral. How did it go? There was a long, ragged silence on the other end of the line. I heard him take a shuddering breath. She did it, didn't she? He finally whispered. Lily, it was you and her, the pictures. I don't know what you're talking about, dear, I said calmly. I've been here. I disappeared, just like you asked. Please, Mom, he begged, and for the first time, I heard the sound of the broken little boy he used to be. I'm sorry, okay? I'm so sorry. Yes, David, I said, my voice soft but unyielding. I believe you are. And I hung up the phone. I did not go back to the glass house on the hill. My son, in the end, did the one decent thing he had left to do. He admitted his defeat. He understood that my presence in that house was now impossible, a ghost he had created that would never leave. He helped me find my own place, a lovely little 2-bedroom condo with a sea view. He used the money from his now precarious career to pay for it. It was a form of penance, a tribute paid to the mother he had tried to discard. Our relationship is not what it was. There is a deep, sad silence between us now, a wound that will never fully heal. He visits me sometimes. We are polite. We talk about the weather, but he can't look me in the eye for too long. I think when he looks at me, he still sees the ghosts. He sees the photos on the mirrors. He sees the man he became on that one terrible night. Lily and I are closer than ever. She is my legacy. She has my eye and my camera. And she has a strength of character that her father, sadly, never inherited. I learned something from all this. A photograph is a strange and powerful thing. It's a moment of life, frozen. But if you gather enough of them, they can come alive. They can tell a story. They can fight a battle. They can become a haunting. My son wanted me to disappear, to become a memory. So I gave him what he wanted. I gave him so many memories he drowned in them. Memory is a stubborn thing. You can try to declutter it, to put it in a box in the attic, to hide it away for a dinner party. But it will always find a way out. It will always demand to be seen. Our stories, our histories, our faces, they are who we are. To ask someone to hide that, to disappear, is a terrible kind of violence. If there is someone in your life who is making you feel invisible, as if your story doesn't matter, I want you to remember this. You are not invisible. Your life is a vast and beautiful album, filled with moments of joy and pain and strength. Do not let anyone close that book. Open it. Share it. Plaster it on all the walls. Your story is your power. It is your ghost, and it will not be silenced. Thank you for letting me share my story with you today. Your time and your attention have been a great gift. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more stories, and be sure to click that notification bell. In the comments, I would love for you to share a memory, a single snapshot from your life that you hold dear. Let's fill this space with our own beautiful, inescapable ghosts. Love you all. This is Grandma Rose, and I'll see you in the next story.